Hello and good morning. Once again, it is the Prince of Positivity, live and in living color. Welcome. I thank you for coming to my channel. As always, I am appreciative of anyone who not just stays and views and hears some of the witticisms and wisdom that I may impart, but I'm also receptive of your feedback. So please like and subscribe and make it a regular habit to stop by pretty much every day because I like to post every day, 6 days a week at least, to get your news and views and what you think about the things that are happening in our land. Last time I was with you, I spoke about the problems and the concerns that I had as a citizen of these United States with the fact that we don't want to teach history anymore if it makes certain people or certain groups of people uncomfortable. Um, I don't want to be unnecessarily provocative, but usually when we're saying that, that means we're just talking about white people as opposed to everybody, and that's not really fair, and that doesn't make practical sense. It's if we're trying to really learn the history that is important to all of us. What you'll find here is that I'm a person that believes in the unadulterated, uncontested truth. If it's objectively true, then we should know about it and we should talk about it because that's the only way we can learn. All right? So, again, I did about 20 minutes on that particular subject last time, so check that one out. And if you've got some responsible comments, meaning I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican, I'm actually an independent voter when I decide to vote. And so I want to hear all types of views. If you disagree with me, great. Let's hear it. But let's be respectful because I am the Prince of Positivity. That's what I believe in. So, what are we talking about today? Well, some of the comedy that is, I've got about 5 or 6 subjects. I'm not just tied to political things. You'll hear me talk about sports. You'll hear me talk about kids. I do have sons and grandsons, granddaughters. I've got it all. You'll hear me talk about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Some things that are joyful, some things that are sometimes painful. So I talk about everything because isn't that kind of what life is about? We've got kind of all kinds of things that we need to be thinking about and talking about. So I am going to start off with some politics right now. Has anybody been paying attention to any of the nonsense that's going on in the House of Representatives? I mean, is it any wonder that most people, when you ask them a question about do you believe in the political system that we have, I think generally we like the so called peace and freedoms and rights and responsibilities that we live under in these United States as citizens. But the comedy of errors and the corruption and the nonsensical behavior that goes on once people kind of get into office, and of course, they're making, usually it always starts with the paycheck. They always say follow the money. Your average person that is your national representative, meaning whether they're a senator or whether they're in the House of Representatives, it's around $200,000 in salary and benefits. So you're making about 200 grand. You have money for your staff. You have free health care. Notice everybody always seem to don't like free health care for everybody, but when you're in office, everybody takes advantage of the free health care. And you have other perks and so forth that make those jobs, as far as financially, excellent. About a quarter of a million in salary and benefits to represent the people in your district. And then you have this nonsense that we had going on. It seems like it's always a Floridian, right? So you had Congressman Matt Gaetz coming to the floor and starting a vote to get rid of the Speaker, the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. It is such nonsense, such unequivocal nonsense because McCarthy didn't want to shut down the government. So now I'm mad and we're going to shut down you. Well, I don't mention this because I have any sympathy for McCarthy. I mean, he wanted the job, he wanted to be Speaker of the House. This was that nonsense in January when they had like 15 votes, I believe it was, and then he finally got the job. But he changed a lot of the rules. He said, I promise I'll do this, 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 and this. Just let me get that gavel. Just let me be Speaker of the House. And so, he kind of sold his soul. So if you're going to sell your soul to get something that is really, really, really important to you and the prestige that comes with that, and then they call you to the floor for that eventually, I mean, eventually it was going to get him. And he got it. So who cares? So I don't bring it up for that. It's just the dysfunction, the the complete corruption that is so rife within our political theater. I have to call it theater because they're not really doing things that benefit the American people. We swing to the right, we swing to the left, we swing back to the middle, and then the right, left, and it's a tug of war. And as always, the people that get the dirty end of the stick are the public. So, I mean, what do you think? Is it ever going to improve? I mean, really, it's my opinion that ultimately we're going to politically tear each other apart. I mean, you just look on social media, you look at how people talk to each other and talk about each other. We're at each other's throats. I mean, I know that when something nice happens, the Olympics, sports tends to be kind of a unifying force in general. But, when we do something like that and everybody gets teary eyed, at the Olympics, and, because they're standing in front of the flag and, land of the free, home of the brave, and we love all of our tropes, all of our myths and legends as far as our nation is concerned. But we don't really care about each other anymore, man. I mean, have we ever really cared about each other? I mean, that's a fair question, I think. I hope you'll, as I said, like and subscribe and then, provide me some answers. I'm searching. I'm not here as a Prince of Positivity. I am the Prince of Positivity. I have a very strong outlook on how I see things. Like I said, I believe I have a higher power, a higher source is where I have my faith in. I don't have my faith in mankind, so to speak, or who the next president's going to be, and that's going to solve all problems. I listen to people out there, and they seem to think that because Biden's the president, we're going to be safe. No, Trump, he needs to come back as president, so we're going to be safe. No, 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 no. There's no human being that's going to save everybody and get it all right. But, what do you think? What's your opinion? That's mine. I'd love to hear yours. Because it seems like, so all we're going on is back and forth, back and forth. Then that kind of leads me into another thought. This Ukraine thing. I do support NATO. Because now I'm shifting gears. That's the way I think sometimes, because I'm waiting for your responses on the other thing that I mentioned. So let's shift gears and let's talk about this for a second. This Ukraine war thing. Now, for all time, it always seems like there's a big country that wants what a little country has. So the big country tries to take over what the little country has, take it for itself. And that's clearly what we have with this Russia thing. And even though, so many of these politicians in Russia want to talk about NATO and all that, look, it's just they're nervous about NATO and all these other countries that are joining NATO and the European Union, and they want to flex their muscle in their sphere of influence. Okay, I get it. That's what big countries do. So then you have European Union, NATO pushing back. Interestingly enough, it was a bit of a mess up by Putin from the standpoint of I think he thought this was going to be over with already. It's going into year 2, the second 2 years now, and he thought this thing was going to be finished relatively quickly. And then I think another mess up that he didn't realize was that he was going to push Sweden and Finland into NATO, and they were neutral before. So now that's two more countries that are very, very strong militarily that now are in the NATO sphere. Uh, Interesting. Okay, miscalculations. So think about war. It's never a clear and smooth ideal. But then we get back, like I said, to Ukraine. I'm not sure why we're going through all this angst and heartache about funding the war. I do believe in supporting Ukraine. I don't believe that a country should just be able to run in. I don't care what country it is. I'm not just saying it because it's Russia. And yes, I know somebody's going to come back at me with, well, didn't the United States? Yeah, I know. We can talk about that as well. See, that's why I'm saying that. I don't know everything. I'm just giving an opinion, and I'd like to hear yours. So if you're a responsible person who has an opinion, like, subscribe, and then feel free. Let's go back and forth with this. But in the short term, speaking specifically about Ukraine, I am all for them being able to defend themselves. I am all for NATO and the countries that are aligned with NATO helping them to fight off this aggression, which is basically killing tens of thousands of their people and resulting in wanton destruction to many of their cities and towns, as well as the destruction of their territorial integrity, without question. So I believe in helping to support them. I think I have a problem with Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. That's the full name of your president, just in case. Many of you just call him Joe or Biden or whatever. Biden, stuff like that. But it's Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. I think my problem is I don't think he should be coming to the American people to fund the war. The American people have a lot of their own concerns. And like I say, there's the ideal of, yes, should we fight against totalitarianism and fascism? Yes. But then, are you willing to risk life and limb to protect somebody else? Well, then a lot of people say no, right? The second question is, okay, where's the money going to come from? Because obviously, to fight a war, that's tens of millions and millions and millions of dollars to fight a war and fight it effectively. And I think my biggest problem is don't come to the American people to fund the war. We have a lot of issues here. We have infrastructure here that needs to be taken care of. I mean, President Biden, there's that, you remember the student loan promise that you made, okay? You have to fund that. There's a lot of, like I said, infrastructure problems across this country that need your tender mercies right here. And that's where all that tax money that is unfairly taken from most of the working class public. That's another issue for another day, which we will talk about, meaning the tax system. But that money, I know we have trillions, but still, it doesn't need to really be going to fund that war. You know where that money needs to come from? Well, the fact is, I believe the estimate is that American banks and American institutions are holding presently something like 300 billion with a B dollars of Russian money. It's just sitting there. And so I'm like, well, Russia is fighting against you, right? Russia has hacked into your government at many different levels. Russia is the one that's threatening NATO. Russia is the one that is trying to blow up half of Ukraine. Russia then should be the one who's facing your sanctions, right? Russia is the one that is perpetrating this violence primarily. Then Russia is the one that should pay for it. So all this $300 billion that is stashed in American institutions that you can easily either release or not, just like you released that money to Iran. It was Iran's money, but you were in control of it, and you held on to control of it until you got what you wanted, which is you got those people out of Iranian prisons who were illegally detained, okay? Well, a similar process. Funding of the war should be coming from Russia. Absolutely. $300 billion. You should be writing blank checks to Ukraine right now off of that money. And when that money is used and completely used, then you can talk about coming to the American public to say, hey, we need more money. We used up 300 billion of the Russian money. But that Russian money needs to be first on the list instead of coming to the American taxpayer. Okay, so Joe Biden, if you're listening, and you actually should be listening because I am the Prince of Positivity. Oh, okay, sorry. Got to be serious. But yeah, so I'm all for helping Ukraine. I just think it should be funded liberally, very liberally, and let the Russians know. Okay, we're going to take $10 billion out of that money that's sitting in our institutions, and that's our next bunch of money that we're sending to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And the longer this goes on, and then every month, and next month we're taking another 10 billion and we're giving it to Ukraine, and then another 10 billion and we're giving it to Ukraine, and then another 10 billion and we're giving it to Ukraine. See what I mean? And quite frankly, that would keep Ukraine well funded so that they can run the government and prosecute their own defense of their country. And actually, they need to, you need to put Ukraine in a position where they can attack Russia, not just defend on their own turf. And you keep blowing up parts of Ukraine. You need to blow up some stuff in Russia too, because the Russian people, if they see some of their towns and some of their cities threatened, that would do a whole lot to make them put pressure on their own government to say, hey, do we need to be doing all this? Because you know how it is. People get complacent. If they don't see their own neighborhoods and areas being blown to hell, then they tend to think that that war is somebody else's war as opposed to their own. Okay? So, just a little thought. President Biden. Prince of Positivity. You want to discuss it, I'm here. So, what other items do we want to talk about? What other items do we want to talk about? So, looking at the headlines today, a little disappointed with my Marlins. I do live in Florida, and so the Marlins, well, it's been a long time since they've been in the playoffs, and usually they do very well when they're in the playoffs, usually when they're a wild card. In fact, the two previous times when they've been wild cards, they actually went all the way to win the World Series. But it's been a long time. It's been so long. I'm really proud of them. I'm glad to see that they fought through it and made it. Right now, they're down to the Philadelphia Phillies by one game, but they're in trouble. I mean, this is a best of 5, so you gotta win. I think it or maybe best of 3, but I think they got to get back in here and get some victories really soon. So I am looking forward to the Marlins. Hey guys, keep after it. Let's go. Let's go. And while we're on a sports tip, I'm also a Miami Heat fan. Love the Miami Heat for a long, 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 long time. Been a long time supporter. Jimmy Butler, if you're listening, my friend, that emo hairstyle, please, bro, bro, no, don't do it. No. I mean, it's too late. I wish, you'd ask me and just, kind of get an objective opinion. Obviously, you're a grown man. You make your own money. You make your own living. You do what you want with your hair. It's on your head. But no, Jimmy. What I'm hoping is that was a joke, and you just want to be funny for the first day of being there on site with the press and so forth. So, okay, but that looks horrible, man. That looks horrible. That looks horrible. I am hopeful that was just a joke. I'm hopeful that this is not a trend that you're trying to set, because that's not working. Okay? It's not working. It's not working. Jimmy. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not a good thing that Udonis Haslam is now retired, because I got a feeling that if UD, Mr. 305, was still there in his role as enforcer and veteran presence and things of that nature, I got a feeling that maybe somebody would have nudged you, maybe with an elbow to the ribs, and said, no, no, that's not heat culture, okay? So, Jimmy, please. Anything else that I need to talk about today? Any items of interest? We still have some shootings going on at a couple of universities. Oh well, right? There's just the fact that I can even say something like that. We had a couple more shootings at some universities, and you're hoping that nobody's dead. I'm looking at the headline. It says just 5 people were wounded. So thank God that only 5 people were wounded, right? So I think that at this time, though, as I'm saying, it's been a bit dark. I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna talk next time I post. I'm gonna talk about some more happy things and more nice things. I mean, that's part of the world we live in, right? It seems like every time you bring up a subject, I started out with I said it was gonna be really brief with politics, but then I ended up talking about corruption. Uh, don't get me started about the Supreme Court and those political hacks who tell everybody how to live, and then while they're living high on the hog and they're all on the take. Seems like it, right? You know, yeah, this guy in front of my courtroom, yeah, he took me on several trips. He's, bought land for me, bought houses for me. He gives me first class travel everywhere I go. But no, no, that has no influence on the cases that are in front of me, because I am high above it all. And when I put on this black robe, I am above all law, right? Well, let me leave you with this bit of wisdom. It's a poem that I learned a long time ago, but it is how I believe that we need to get through life, and I think it's a bit of wisdom from a long dead poet, but it's something that I've believed in a long time. It's called Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutches of circumstance, I've not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That's all I have for you today.